Before we start this last episode of season two, I just wanted to take a moment to say that we recorded this episode before everything happened with the Los Angeles fires. So that is why you do not hear us talking about that on this episode, because of course we would. That is a giant thing that has happened. Our hearts go out to family, friends, and so many of you who have been affected by the fires and have lost so much. Our hearts are with you, and hopefully we can band together and get through this. So, without further ado, here is the last episode of Oldish for season two.
I really take pride in the fact that this, like, Oldish was kind of a funny, catchy name at first, but like I really get it now. It's four people sitting in here in a certain space, ready to ask questions, ready to hear some new information, ready to learn. And it's amazing what we do here, because coming into doing this show, I didn't expect to walk away from it every episode with as much as I do. Yeah.
Throughout season two, we've learned more. We've curated our team, which is incredible. We
have
trying.
mugs.
I have more gray hair.
Yeah, Randy definitely has more gray hair. Bri probably has some too.
I've been gaining gray hair just before this, just from kids.
Question.
Yeah.
Dream guests for season three. Let's manifest some stuff. I think that is a conversation that is kind of like, yeah, it's still considered taboo, but it shouldn't. Like, let's talk about it more.
Oldish, the show where age-old questions meet new-age answers. With your hosts, Randy Spelling, Brian Austin Green, and Sharna Burgess.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
Welcome to
everybody.
Oldish.
Hi, everybody. So
This is our fly in the wall episode, by the way.
this is kind of the three of us talking about what we've done, where we came from, like from season one to season two, sort of what our plans are for season three.
It's like a
we don't
season
do a lot
two
of
finale,
this. Yeah,
right?
we don't do a lot of this. Like we get so topical sometimes. Like I think we don't necessarily take the time to just sit with each other and sort of laugh and enjoy this. And it's just the three of us in this room, and we have this beautiful set. So let's...
Oldish Reflections.
It's an oldish reflections.
Why does that sound
Yeah.
extra old?
It sounds
I
old.
think it's the word
Right.
reflections.
You have
just
to
seems old
have
to me.
the old
You know
voice.
what
and
we
it
need?
sounds wise.
Tony, next year we need doilies.
Doilies.
Lace doilies.
Yes.
Let's not
Just for my
have
tea.
doilies.
Right.
Just to set
With
my
a little
tea
lamp.
down
No, listen.
on a doily.
As
And
the
I'll be
youngest person,
crocheting the whole time we do these episodes.
as the
It'll
youngest
be...
person in the room, I refuse to
Okay,
have a doily.
as the oldest person, I'm going to crochet next season.
Good night, moon.
That's where I'm starting. That's where I'm starting.
As your fiance, I quit.
Sharna will be petting a kitten.
Right. If you say that until next Christmas, you go, these socks you've been making all season are delicious.
Delicious?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah.
That's I use the word delicious for fabrics. That's
Oh,
my
yes.
thing.
Apple spiced oldish socks.
Old
Apple?
Spice.
Old
Oldish.
Spice.
Old Spice
Let's get that
socks.
brand partnership happening. Old
Right?
Spice.
Old Spice.
How do we not have them as
Right,
a partner on
right.
this show?
So yeah, here we are. We're wrapping up season two, which is it's amazing. It's amazing that we have had the opportunity to be in this beautiful space with logos that we like stressed over for 2 months, and we worried about it, all the things, and it's like, and now
I loved every minute of
We've
going
been-
through those
did.
logos.
we did like photo shoot stuff for and creating website stuff and try like we have been
Wait, was that sarcasm?
No.
Oh, no, you did love every
No,
day
yeah,
going
we've
through
been
the logos.
stumbling through though this whole experience because none of us know how to do this. It's that we're self-producing this show.
Yeah.
Most people A lot of the bigger ones have a producer that then is like, okay, we need you to do this. I'm going to need you to shoot this. I'm going to need you to say this intro and do these things and they kind of put all the pieces together and they build it. We don't have that. We have been doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
Photos, the logo, the set, the design, we are constantly brainstorming with each other on
Constantly.
what do we try? Like what would be a cool direction guest wise to go? What would be fun things to talk about? And we've been doing it a lot.
And what's next? So
Yeah.
looking at how we want to change things up, what we have learned. I mean, I don't even know if we have sat and talked about what we have actually done and learned and how
No, we
We
haven't.
haven't
growth
because
process
we're
of all
still
of this.
because we're still finding pieces. Like we're still finding the things that we're missing, and then we're sitting down with those people also. So the three of us still, I feel like, as a team, are trying to figure out how this works. Like what
Yeah.
Because we started with iHeart, right? And that was an amazing experience to be
iHeart
with
was
them.
amazing
Yeah.
because
And they helped us get off the ground with this idea of Oldish. And it was really wonderful to have a home with them. But when we wanted to do video and we had other ideas of where we wanted this to go and we really wanted to own it ourselves, then we parted ways on very good terms with them. There was nothing wrong there. We just
But
had
to
different
step
visions.
away from a big machine that works really well,
And they do
then
all the
go-
things for you.
and then
Right.
go, okay, we now have nobody to do this stuff.
It was just the three of us.
They were responsible for booking a lot of talent and scheduling
Yeah.
and the things, and it was like, making sure that we had the equipment. Everybody was on the
They
same.
do the social media content. Like it was then all on us. So we
All
really
on
have
us.
stumbled through like figuring out how to do this. And
Yeah.
throughout season 2, we've learned more. We've curated our team, which is incredible. We're still
we have
trying.
mugs.
I have more gray hair.
Yeah, Randy definitely has more gray hair. Bri probably has some too.
I've been gaining gray hair just before this, just from kids. So I
Yeah,
can't.
that too. But it's felt really good to figure that out together as a team. It doesn't mean sometimes it hasn't been hard, or balancing dynamics of not just the three of us here in this room, but also the people that we've curated in our team.
Yep.
Figuring out how to lead that and how to create a singular vision of that and not a cohesive, but a streamlined and well-oiled machine of how things work and when they come out. Like all those things we had no idea about going into
Yeah.
like, hey, let's do this on our own.
It's
and then
it's
you
funny
suddenly
you do
realize
that. You do that like as an individual. Like Randy with his business has figured out like, okay, on my own, I know how to accomplish these things. You've done the same thing. I've done the same thing. This now is 3 people, so it's like it's a different business.
Well, it's 3+, right? Because we have the person that also helps us edit and get our content out there. We also have Casey who helps manage and helps book. Like we've curated our team, but we all have to be on the same page. We also have the amazing Tony in the room here with us, who's while we're filming, he's doing live edits for us. Like it's not as
Right.
it's
And the
n-
owners of the podcast studio. I mean, just there's so many components.
so many
components.
Derek Russell sitting,
Derek Russell.
taking care of 3 kids at home.
Yeah.
And then
Also,
and making sure that all of this is edited, put together, all the socials are done and out.
Yeah.
Like he's trying, he's like meeting the due date every
Yeah.
week. So it's a lot.
and everyone is such a champ. Like we have amazing energies and people on our team, and I'm really grateful for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
I am too.
I think we've attracted that. I think because we have good energy and good intentions, I think we attract good people into our world, and certainly we're still building with that too. But I love the team that we have.
We have a
I
great
do
Oh,
too.
there's a little shout out for our team that all edits.
Yeah,
and
shout
puts
out
this
team.
together.
Thank you,
Casey,
Oldish
Derek, we
team.
love you. Tony, we
Yeah.
love you. A4S, we love you.
Cody, Tanya.
Cody,
Oh my
Tanya,
God.
everyone. I mean,
so incredibly
so
helpful.
grateful.
Like it's again, we didn't know how to do any of this stuff. So it's like when people then have these ideas and these thoughts and these experiences they've had and they're able to share those and really like Cody and Tanya have been amazing as far as like, oh, we've been doing it for a while. You should try doing this. Or
yeah,
it's,
insights and tips.
oh my God, it's so helpful because
Yeah.
I have no idea.
No idea.
Like I have a vision in my head, but that doesn't mean that it's the right one.
Right.
you know?
Executing a vision is something
Oh my
interesting because a
God,
lot of
yeah.
people can come up with ideas. You can
Yeah.
ideate all the time, but executing on ideation is something totally different.
So on that, that's actually something that Brian and I'm having flashbacks to when we first met. Like we would talk about how we are ideas people. I've always been an ideas person, but not an execution person. I've always needed to have someone help me with how
I have a
to
great
execute.
idea. Can you guys all do this for me?
Right.
Because I'll also
Yeah.
have 10 ideas at once and then I can get overwhelmed with how to execute them
Right.
and then I'll execute none of them.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll start 3 and finish 1 of them. Like that is very much my brain. So I've always needed a team to help execute. Randy, you are an executor. Like you are the
You
person
are.
that helps
Thank
us.
you.
Yeah.
We just like blurt stuff out and you're like, okay. And like,
Yeah.
will you help us figure out how to make
Yeah.
it happen or hear ideas? I mean, you really do keep us in check too, by way of like, okay, let's tackle this one. Let's do that. Let's focus on this part. And it's great. But I think you also need all that balance, right?
You do.
In
Yeah.
a team and a partnership.
This has been a great experience, though, in learning how a team works for something like this on the media side. Like, I feel much more confident. If I was to step into something else, I would have a much better sense now of like, oh, do we have this? And
Yeah,
Right.
like
has
what
Right.
we-
do we have someone to cover this? With like, because we had zero idea
All the
at first.
components.
We
All
we
of it.
walked into this and it was like, okay, so we're done with iHeart. Now what do
Now
we do?
what?
Oh,
Because we want to go. Like, I guess we need to find a place to do this, right? Like, we
Yeah.
had zero
It
ideas.
was nuts. I remember sitting here being totally calm with you on the episodes because I remember the first few months of shooting, especially the first month. I flew in, came from the airport to meet Tony here on a Sunday to start setting up the
Yes,
set.
that's
And then I'm
right.
taking pictures and sending to you
Yep.
and sending to the team.
Yeah.
And then we're figuring it out. And then I remember like I didn't eat all day and got a headache. And then by the next day, you know, we had all of these things to shoot for friends and family on Patreon.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we were trying to figure out this complex machine and doing all of the things for it.
Yeah.
And so that I just remember my heart rate.
Yeah.
Like for the first few days, the stress level of needing to hit all of those markers and trying, and it, because always in my head, I'm always thinking of what is this for the user? What is this for the listener? I'm sure you guys are too,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Yeah.
like, how is this landing? What is this valuable?
Right.
So managing that and knowing the points in the background of all the things that we have to hit to bring this to life was a monster.
Monster.
There were a lot of things that we had to do. Do you remember when for the Patreon we were reading all of those things?
Yes.
And do you remember we all had our mess ups and you kept pointing, you kept flashing 2 when it was 3 or
yes,
something, and
I
you
do
were like 2,
remember
and then you would go
The
like,
third
oh, shit."
option, and I was like, that's a fucking 2. That's not a 3. What is wrong with my brain? It was the short circuiting. It was just so many words to read
Oh,
and
yeah.
to say. It was overwhelming.
Yeah.
But we
You
got
know what
through
was
it.
really cool for me? I mean, it was so simple, but on day 1 when we got here and Casey had
Oh, the mugs.
She sent him the
mugs and
mugs.
pens and like a
Uh-huh.
note saying, you know, good luck on your first day. That felt so cool to be sitting in here
Yeah.
and to see all the stuff and to have that and go, okay,
Yes.
like officially day 1.
Yeah.
We had been day 1, we had started months before, but to be sitting here.
Yeah, it felt official, and Tony got
And
the
then
video of it.
Amanda came in and it was like, and it was,
Yeah,
it
we
was
kicked
so
it off.
great. She was our first person in this space.
We
Yeah.
kicked it off with Amanda, and I remember driving home that day. We had Amanda, and we had one other person because we usually did about 2 a day.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember now, but I remember driving home pumped up because what I didn't anticipate, because we did our first season all over Zoom.
Yeah.
Sitting in a room
How it felt.
with not only the 3 of us and the dynamic that we have, because there is an energy. It's
Yeah.
so hard to describe that. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I wish you could smell this, you know, when
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
eating food
totally.
and taste this.
Right.
There is an energy, a tangible vibe and energy. And then to have a 4th And to sit with someone and have this intimate space in this room, I didn't anticipate that. And the feeling that I had an afterglow for hours that day. I was like, this right here, I like this.
Yeah, it feels really good.
Yeah.
The energy is everything. And I think that comes across to you guys listening too. I feel like our episodes this season, the dynamics between us, the questions, like Randy, when you would tap into what you felt like that one thing that needed to be asked and then it hit an emotional point for a guest, like all of that happens because of the energy present in the room, you know, and it's so cool to have that and be a part of that. And just to like experience this in person, because I'm an energy person too. And in all transparency, sometimes on Zoom, like my brain could almost check out because we were at home.
Season 1
there's
was
kids
tough
around.
for me.
It's like hard to stay when you're in your home and you know there's things you got to do or groceries just turned up at the door or like. It was hard to disassociate from being mum in the house to sitting and doing this podcast when dogs are barking and like it's just all
right.
the
There's
things.
no
and
other
the gardener's outside, and it's like
there's no other distractions in here.
I always say to people the same thing about a gym.
Oldish.
Like you have a home gym, but it's so hard to work out at home because there's your home.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, I'm hungry, and I'm gonna go do. You go to a gym, it's like it's the only thing you can do in the gym is work out.
Except for people sitting there, which I'm guilty of sometimes. I'm talking to you. I'm writing stuff to you guys in the middle of sets.
I know.
Like, oh, this is too easy.
It's multitasking.
Yeah. And you know, the hope too is that when the guest leaves, they've had an experience. It's not just any other interview.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, that really, I feel like we have an unspoken thing because we've never talked about this. It's not like we say, okay, the intention here is that they feel a certain way, but they do get a mug.
Yes.
And, you know, once they leave, hopefully there was something shared, questions asked, where they got to feel that they accomplished something somehow for the people listening.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I
I
just
think
felt comfortable. You know, one thing I've loved about us is that unspoken thing where it never ever feels like an interview. It's just a hang with the person coming and it feels like it betters them. But also there's certain guests we've had come in where you see them relax as they're in the chair. Like one was Freddie. Right? You know, Freddie does not do interviews. You could tell when he came in, he's kind of like, oh, what's this going to be? And even though he and Brian are mates, it's like there's still you and I here. And so he doesn't know, oh, what are we going to ask? And how's it going to feel? Is it going to be like icky? And it wasn't. And you could see him just relax and settle into his humor and be a human being and just have a good time. And I love that people get to experience that with us.
I think it's that thing of like creating a conversation with the four of us. I always tell people when Freddie was one, like I could tell he was stressed about doing it. I was like, dude, I love you. I got you. Like
there's
we're not going to sneak
gotcha
anything
here.
off, you know, try and sneak anything in. And I always tell people like, it's a conversation. You, I think, would be a great part of the conversation that the three of us have. So then it becomes the four of us. And as soon as you do that, then it takes the pressure. I'm not just sitting asking questions, going, okay, question number 2.
Right.
Because he's done that his entire life.
Right.
I've done that my entire life.
Yeah.
Right. It's not an interview.
No.
It is a conversation.
And nothing's wrong with interviews, but that's not what this is.
Yeah.
Like this is, I really take pride in the fact that this, like Oldish was kind of a funny, catchy name at first, but like I really get it now. It's 4 people sitting in here in a certain space, ready to ask questions, ready to hear some new information, ready to learn. And it's amazing what we do here because coming into doing this show, I didn't expect to walk away from it every episode with as much as I do.
Yes, me too.
I go home and I go, man, I just had no idea. It was so great to be a fly on the wall in that conversation. Whether I was talking or not, I've gotten so much more out of this than I ever expected that I would. I thought it would be a fun podcast.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we'll sit, we'll have some guests, we'll joke, we'll do. It's like I learn every single one.
Yeah, me too.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Which is
Even when
amazing.
we do these 15-minute holiday ones, we ended up completely reconfiguring our Christmas last year because of
Yeah,
one
things
thing
that
you said.
shared, and it made the world of difference.
I'm so glad.
So
I'm
much to
so
learn.
And now
glad.
Tony's talking about like, hey, I want to try that also. That sounds like a
nephews,
great
totally.
idea.
Yeah.
Never
All
know.
right, question.
Yeah.
Dream guests for season 3. Let's manifest some stuff. Who, Randy? If you had
Ooh,
3 dream guests.
Dream guests. You're gonna put me on the spot right now.
Yeah.
I would love to have some musicians in here, some artists. I would love to have whether it's a. Actually, I know.
Okay.
So artists of various mediums.
Okay.
So
artists.
someone, yeah, but
Painting, music.
yeah,
Right, okay.
like someone. I have a friend named Benjamin Shine, who does these installments of faces and different shapes with cloth, with like see-through cloth, and it's unreal what he does. But what it takes to do, and it's one piece, by the way. It's hard to describe. You can
Yeah, I
look it up
can't
on
really envision
Instagram.
it.
But someone like him, where what does it take to experiment? What does it take to get to where you are? How do you see the world? Because as we're talking about learning things, being able to jump into how other people see the world is where I learn the most, because I just may not see the world that way. So artists, and then I would love to have more out there. Like, I kind of do want to talk about plant medicines, not because I have done them, at least not yet, but because that is a subject that I think people are interested in, and people are all over the map with
It's
it.
a subject you're interested in.
I'm
too,
interested
which is
in.
really fun.
Yeah.
I know the guest that we should have for that. His name's Adion. He's Australian, but he's a shaman that practices. He goes all across the world. He's a friend of a friend. He facilitates everywhere. He's so
Okay.
knowledgeable.
Yeah.
We should totally try and
Yeah,
get
like
him in.
I'm totally interested in that, and I'm interested in going deep. Like, I just looked at a fact. I don't know if it's a fact, by the way. This was an article that I read, so fact check me, please.
Okay.
That they were saying, the expression about there are a million. Oh no, every grain of sand equals a star in the sky, or a planet or something, and
I read this recently.
right,
Yeah,
it was
a
now
planet.
this could have been a meme that was going around.
Moons that other planets have, or planets in another galaxy. It was something like that. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah, I think it was planets. And they said that once it was thought, and again, I don't think this is fact, but I think there's probably some sort of
Some
truth to
truth to
this. Bless you.
Excuse me.
Is that the grains of sand on the beach on the whole planet are equal to how many planets are out there in space. But now I was reading something about the universe that we can observe, and then there's the unobservable universe, which is like it bends and it's huge, and I'm not an astrophysicist. I can't go that far.
My brain explodes. My head hurts
Right?
when I think about it.
We should have
But-
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Right.
He
like,
would be a guest.
This is what I want to get into, more quantum physics in a way that is so digestible.
Yeah.
But I want to start going bigger and even more spiritual. I want to talk about things that might be conspiracy, because I want to start looking at getting information and just looking at what don't we know.
Broaden.
What, like, go bigger.
Right.
Because this thing, so they said that grains of sand on the beach aren't equal to planets. It's one grain of sand is equal to 1 billion planets.
Yeah, something like that.
And if you just think about all the grains
Right.
of sand on one beach,
Doesn't make any sense.
it's so mind-blowing. But
Yeah.
then you think, and then there's no other life out there, consciousness, not like single-cell amoebas. But
Right.
I was talking to
Right.
Tony about this.
Yeah.
But like all of that.
It's exciting.
And like quantum
Yeah.
physics, where you look at one particle, and because you're observing the particle, that particle changes. So in terms of our reality, we are actually manipulating and changing reality based off of the observer, based off
Yeah.
of what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to explore those things, because if any of that is true, there's so much more to life than just this human rat race. And I want to get into it.
Right.
Do you listen to Next Level Soul? Do you know who that is?
No.
Oh my God, it's an incredible podcast. They're hosted on YouTube. They have guests like this around all of it, about ancient races
Yes,
and
I love all that.
oh my God, my mum listens to it. She tells me all this information, and it's phenomenal.
I need to talk to your mom.
My mum's into all of it. You know, we should have Woo on as a
Right,
guest. Let's
have
get Woo.
Yeah.
Okay,
The episode of Woo.
The episode of Woo.
The book of Woo.
sounds
36 chambers of Woo.
Yeah.
36. Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot there,
Yeah.
but she would be great. But I love all of that. So
What about you?
for me, specifically, I would love to get Dr. Becky on. I love Dr. Becky. She's one of parenting. She's one of the best in the world of social media. That we get access to information. So that's why I say social media. She shares a lot. I love her advice, her principles. I would really love to get her on and chat with her about her stuff. I would really love to have someone talk about plant medicine. I think that would be amazing for people to dive into.
That concept, like what you were talking about, and then like Neil deGrasse Tyson and those, like that is totally inspired me. I think that direction is amazing.
It's really cool.
But then there's also the part of me, like on the true entertainment side, where like I want some comedians and some people like that on there also.
Totally.
I get that.
I want us to like have those moments where it's okay to just kind of have fun and laugh and you know, and do that, because sometimes it can all get so heavy sometimes. You know, I think
we've done a lot of health and wellness this season.
Yeah.
We have done a lot of health and wellness. I think we'll always have celebrity, because funny enough, I actually learn a lot by talking with celebrities, because maybe it's a stereotype that I may have had, not a judgment, but just, you know, I don't know, from watching someone.
Right.
And finding what it is that makes them tick, finding how they see the world. And I think there's something really, really interesting about that. So that's a given, I think, on our show, right?
Yeah, I think celebrity is a given. It's so interesting to share and be transparent. What Brian and I were talking, this is a couple months ago, and it was about who we've all brought onto the show. And it was this question of like, well, why hadn't I brought on more of the people that I knew? All the Dancing with the Stars people, some of my partners and
all
whatnot.
All the celebrities she's danced with.
Right.
And it was this funny thing of like, I think it's a me thing of not expecting either people to show up or feeling bad asking people to show up, because it's mine. If I was asking someone to do it for someone else's show, hey, so this person, I wouldn't have a problem asking them. But it's almost like it's not that I thought it and said no, it's that the thought literally didn't come to me. Even when we've put lists together of people, those aren't my close friends. They're like people that I know, that I almost feel like it's easier for me to reach out to and be like, hey, we have this thing on an Instagram DM. We've connected before. Would you want to? And so I have Max and Peter. I have everyone from Dancing with the Stars. It's been on the show for forever. I have my celebrity partners. James Hinchcliffe wants to come and do it. He's here in April this year. You know, it was just an interesting observation for me of like, oh, why am I not reaching out to my people and asking them, like, what is that? I got to like look at that a little bit.
Is that hard for you in general, or just for this
hard
podcast?
for me in general. Like, I don't want birthday parties thrown for me, because I feel like either people won't show up or they don't want to, or it's an inconvenience. Like, there is something there from childhood that I've not worked through or worked on. And I don't realize it because, you know, I don't have these things come up all the time. But it was something that just came to my attention when we were talking about guests for the podcast. And Bri brought it up. And I was like, that's so interesting, because it's not that I don't want to. It's not that I even have a negative feeling of like, oh, no, I don't want to. I love this podcast. I just never feel like it's never come to me to ask my direct people. Isn't that dumb? That's so silly.
Now that you have the awareness.
I have the awareness
now. You get
right.
to work on
and
that for
I've
season 3.
reached out to Cheryl was on. You know what I mean? Was on. Like, I've already reached out to people, because as soon as I had the awareness, I was like, that is silly. That's so weird and so silly. So I've definitely got a bunch of people to reach out to.
It's funny though. I think because Sharna's a lot like me in the sense of like she gives 1,000% of herself to whoever she's with. So she delivers, but never asks for anything in return.
Yeah.
So then to finally ask is like, it's such a big,
Right.
like there are certain times I've worked on things and it's like, oh, can you reach out to so-and-so? And it's like, oh my God, I've never asked any favors
Of
of any
anyone.
of these people
Yeah.
that I've spent a lifetime doing favors for.
Yeah. And it feels
It's a weird, yeah,
there's a
it's
thing
a
there.
weird,
Yeah.
we're very
it's just
similar.
a different, it's a different space to view things from. And it's shocking. Like when I reach out to people for the show, instantly, oh, absolutely, of course I'll be there. What day? It's like there's no hesitation for, Freddie, like I pulled him out of like obscure, he's like sitting in his house, cobbling shoes and,
He's
and
not
doing,
actually cobbling
and,
shoes. Watch
and,
that
and
be a headline
doing,
tomorrow.
doing his,
He was gaming with the
Freddie Prinze
Culkins or
Jr.
something,
leaves acting
right?
to cobble
Right.
shoes.
to cobble shoes. Right. Daniel Day-Lewis
Daniel
did it.
Day-Lewis
Not a
and
bad,
Freddie
not a
Prinze.
bad
Not
thing.
a bad thing. Yeah.
But so it was shocking to me when I started reaching out to people, how many people were like, of course, like there's
receptive.
Yeah.
no question at all. But for me, like timidly, I was like, hey, so I do this thing. And, I was wondering if maybe one day
Yeah,
would
you
consider
could
being a
possibly,
guest
if it
on
aligns,
it.
like all the words.
All the words. You know what it reminds me of is the episode that we did. I'm flashing back because I could see your face of you saying, you know what I realized last week? I had this mirror moment where I realized I never considered myself the leading man. I
Yeah.
always shied away from that. And then I was looking, thinking, wait a second, why not? Why aren't you? And I was like, what? You don't think you're a leading man?
Yeah.
What are you talking
Yeah.
about? Like everyone should be so lucky to have your looks and at 51, right?
Yeah, right.
But that's just how you saw yourself.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. How the brain works. It's
know.
how you're programmed. How
Yeah.
it is crazy like what you like I've gotten really good at hearing other people's stories and giving them little words of wisdom or advice or things, but there are so many times where I say something and I go, I need to do more of that. Like
Yeah, take your own advice.
I said that way more for myself to hear, I think,
Totally.
than for the person that I'm talking to.
It's such a parallel process.
But if you
right?
don't put yourself out there and have those conversations with people, you never have those moments. And that's one of the things that's one of the big things that's come from doing the show is it's forced me to have these conversations. Like I'm not somebody that goes out places. I stay home. We're usually at home. We're with the kids. We'll go places sometimes, but we're not going to big events. We don't talk to a lot of people or put ourselves out there. So then have this where it's like, oh no, that's what you're here. It's 4 chairs. What else are you going to do? Like,
Yeah.
you can't you're not together to play basketball. Like you're all sitting in chairs with microphones. Like you're here to talk. And so it forces me to talk and then listen. And as soon as you start doing that, you can't I don't think you can help but grow
I think so.
when you're a part of a conversation, when you're speaking and listening.
Absolutely. It's definitely a growth process being a part of this show. I would be so curious to know for all of you listening,
Or
who
watching.
We're
Or
right.
watching. We're on
Right.
YouTube.
Right.
See, that's
I
the
keep forgetting
graduation
this.
of...
Right. So watching, listening, all of it. What type of guests you would want? So what is entertaining? What would be fun? But also what would be valuable and informative to where you're at in your life right now? Like what would just be I would have to get a cup of tea and watch or listen to that episode.
Yeah.
You know what accounts I see becoming really popular on Instagram or that I hear of other predominantly women that I know that may not follow them but definitely go and look at the content is content around intimacy and sex education.
Oh yeah.
And how to explore more, how to enjoy more, how to all of those things with your partner or on your own. We've only ever had Miss Jaya on. No, actually we've had two, and Rebecca.
Yep.
But I think there's so much more there to dive into, and I think it is still a very taboo subject, but I think it's so important that is kind of like, yeah, it's still considered taboo, but it shouldn't. Like, let's talk about it more. Let's get someone to talk about sex more and how to approach things with your partner, how to try new things, relationships in general. Like, intimacy is such a big part of them. And, you get caught up in life and you forget to have those conversations. You lose the excitement of those beginning days and months or whatever from when you first start dating with each other. And then you forget to pay attention to it, and then you don't know how to get back into it. Mm-hmm. And I think having people listen to conversations, even listening to us talk about it, you know what I mean? I think it's very helpful for people to know and have tools and ways to get back into it. So more on intimacy for in singles and couples, I think would be so cool to have.
Yeah, intimacy in singles is a whole different. Talk about oldish. It's a whole new world out there compared to when I was single.
Yeah.
It was like, it's a whole new world.
Yeah. Couples and singles, but yeah, as a whole new, like, how do you navigate that? It's that's a lot, but someone can help us with that. And I think that's very, very cool.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So idea in terms
he's
of
like he's just getting flashbacks of Miss Jaya when it was maybe I said too much.
But I remember how much fun we had though on Miss Jaya.
Oh, that was so much fun.
Oh my God, it was so much fun.
The looks on all of our faces. It was
like terrifying to get into, and then you got into it, it was like, okay, we're here now.
But even listen, transparently, we have a great sex life, but even that episode opened me up specifically to like, oh, these are the things that I'm missing or wanting or needing, and I had no idea. And so we've had those conversations.
Yeah.
And I'm thrilled with the fact that we had those conversations. You know what I mean? It opened stuff up for us even.
There was
I'm thrilled as well. So
there was a moment where because this was back when we were with iHeart and we had Michaela.
Yeah.
And Blair.
Oh, they were young.
You said something.
No, I know exactly what it was.
You know what it was?
When he says "good girl."
Oh yeah.
And they died.
And you were like, you were like, I did something, or I clutched my pearls, and his face, and then their face, because I could see them. They were like this.
So what would happen when we did season 1 was that we would finish recording, and then Michaela and Blair would be on, and we would talk about things that were
social
interesting,
grabs and stuff.
social grabs, all of that kind of stuff. Blair, I just remember
died.
like didn't say anything, blushing in the face, and she was like, "This is way more information than I ever wanted to know." She's like
hearing your parents talk about their sex life.
About any of you.
All fairness, she was like 23.
I know,
right? And
I felt old in that moment. I really did.
Totally.
Yeah. But anyway, good girl, it works. Just to reinforce that for people.
Season 3, I'm really looking forward to it.
New camera angles, new positions, new things to talk about.
I knew you were going to go there.
Yeah,
we are talking about this actually.
Yeah.
New positions,
we are talking about
new angles.
I
am not a part of this conversation and weirdly feeling like I'm entering into this
You're
where
even
I shouldn't
shifted
be.
back a little bit.
You're in your own chair.
Excuse me. Let me just.
I don't know what this is now. This has crossed a line for Randy.
Oh, it's crossed a line.
That's amazing. Is it hot in here? I'm sweating.
It is hot in
here. Got it.
So we are going to take a little break, of course, for regrouping, and then
regroup, rethink. We have some new ideas, some new things that we want to try. We want to continue to push this and grow. We don't want to just like find a thing and go cool, and feel like we're like that's just the position that we want to be in. We want to continue to push this. We have these big plans. Like we're hoping to be bringing live things with people and traveling around and doing these sort of
meeting everyone.
So we have plans. We have things we want to do.
Yeah, we were talking about maybe a couple of the times where you're traveling or you're traveling. Maybe we all go and do a live element, because I don't know how you two feel. We haven't discussed this element much, but just how we were talking about guests being in the room and the feeling of that,
Yeah.
bringing everyone into that energy and sharing space and talking
Yes.
about things and creating an experience. You know,
Yes.
we want an experience for
For
people.
sure.
Yeah,
That
we
sounds
do.
fun.
I love that. And I would actually love for those of you that are listening and watching, if you can find your way either to our
I love
Instagram
now
page.
that watching is a
Yeah.
part of.
Yeah, or even our YouTube videos, leave us comments. We've done a lot of health and wellness this season. We've done a lot of nutrition stuff this season. What are some other angles that you would love to hear about? We've shared our dream guests and dream things that we want to sort of like dive into and subjects. But what is some stuff that you would love to hear from us, or people that you would like us to reach out to, or subjects that you would like to hear more on? Because I think that would be really helpful too.
Yeah, we are creating this for you.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
I want
Exactly.
Michelle Obama.
You do. You've
That's
said
a
that.
dream guest for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I think she's amazing. Michelle, if you happen to be watching this or listening,
Michelle, why didn't you run for president? Will you run for
that's a
president?
whole nother conversation.
I guess we're going to get into more politics in season 3.
Yes.
Are we? I don't know. That makes me sweat. Getting into politics makes me nervous, but you guys are into it.
Well, here and there.
Yeah.
I'm into talking about it. I'm not so deep into the political arena that I feel that I have any jurisdiction there or authority in any way. But I do, I have ideas. You know me, I have ideas. I think we all probably have ideas about what we see and
Right.
how to navigate things. And my whole thing is I want to talk about all things, not just one thing. So if you know, like nutrition, we've had people on the show like Dave Asprey who have said things in biohacking that is controversial for sure. And then we've had other people like Dr. Sarah Ballantyne, who is sort of citing studies and bringing the science and saying, well, you know, not all of those things are statistically true. And so presenting both sides to look at
Right.
where do we want to wind up? Because
Yeah.
there's so much noise on social media. And instead of just parroting what is being thrown out there, having these conversations, even in politics, let's
Yeah.
say, to be like, where do we stand with all of this? Not just what we're being fed, but to start to critically think.
I don't know. I think politics is explosive and divisive at the moment, but I'm open to the idea of trying it out.
Yeah, I'm not saying we're gonna venture too deep into that realm.
We've talked about this.
just talking about
with,
having conversations about it.
with certain topics like the war and what's happening in Gaza and all that. Like, I don't have the religious information to be able to sit here and I can only speak on the humanitarian side of it, but I'd love to have people on here that are knowledgeable in each side to
Right.
get the full perspective and to give people the full perspective, because then we'll all learn.
Right. I think a
from it.
strong suit that we could accomplish together is not so much saying this is what you need to do, this is how you need to think, this is what you need to believe, but giving people a space to have a conversation and pushing back a little if we don't agree or we don't get it, but also being able to foster conversation about what didn't I know. And because you were on here, this is something I'm going to think about. And trying to model ways to talk about things that isn't divisive, that's actually looking at, oh, so there
That's
actually
productive.
is some common ground here. There's a way of talking about it. That would be my goal is
Right.
is being able to model having these things that people may not agree with, but what is something that we learned that we otherwise didn't know? If there's one little tidbit, it's at least opening up that space to not be so rooted in something.
It's one of the things that this country's getting so wrong right now, and we talk about it all the time. Is like it is so having a different opinion is so explosive, and it's like everybody is. It's either my side or your side, and it's like there's so much that is being missed because these conversations aren't happening in a healthy way.
Right. I would like to find an our side. So I want to hear your side.
Right.
I want to hear your side. And then I want to hear, maybe at the end, there's that
Let's
bridge.
find a middle ground.
What is
right.
the common ground? One thing. Is there a food that you both like? Is there something that you value?
Right.
To try and find one thing to try to unite in some way. That's all.
Right.
That's it. Maybe. I don't know.
Nah. I get it. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you.
Thanks for, we're working it out right
Yeah.
here
Yeah,
live.
Yeah,
literally.
we're doing it.
Thanks for
doing
joining
it
our
for you
therapy
all.
session. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, thank you all for joining. Like always,
Season 2. Thank you for being here for season 2. Thank you for following us on our journey of what it is we do. We're stumbling through it. Thank you for stumbling through it with us. We'll be back for season 3.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, if you do enjoy the podcast, share it with friends. Like, subscribe. You have no idea. People still don't realize how much just a follow button on the podcast app that you listen to, or on YouTube, subscribing, or leaving a comment on any of those. Those things make a difference.
Huge
so that
difference.
we can be bigger and better and add more value. It really does make a difference all around. So if you could do that, we would be so appreciative. And we thank you for being with us.
Yep.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey, if you're going through something right now, if you need additional support, then please reach out to me at randyspelling.com/help, or go to my Instagram at randyspelling. Thanks.